All right, thanks, guys. We got ourselves a ton of college basketball action here today. So let's go ahead and begin with the 4 o'clock slate. We're going to start off with Notre Dame taking on Syracuse. And that's going to be a 4 o'clock Eastern tip-off in the Carrier Dome. Syracuse is -3, total at 137.5. We did see a half a point fade of Syracuse and movement upward on the total. The Orange opened 3.5 down to -3. Total open 137 up to 137.5. 63% are leaning Syracuse, 56% shaded toward the under. And right now, the Fighting Irish are plus 145 on the money line. Now, if you like Notre Dame in this matchup here, just keep in mind they've kind of struggled to cover the point spread as of late. They're just 40% against the spread in their last 10. They're also winless in their games away from home this year. Now, Syracuse on the other side, they're right in the middle of a 3-game winning streak. They're also 7-2 straight up at home this year, and they're holding their opponents to just 65 points per contest. Now, total-wise, Syracuse is 8-1 to the under in their last 9. So with all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and lean Syracuse -3 and the under 137 in that game. All right, next matchup, it is going to be West Virginia taking on Kansas. And for whatever reason, that doesn't appear to be on our big screen in the back, but that's okay. It's not an important game or anything. But anyway, West Virginia taking on Kansas, 4 o'clock Eastern tip-off in that game. Kansas, they are laying double digits in this matchup here, -10, total at 140. We saw a half a point fade of Kansas and movement downward on the total. The Jayhawks open 10.5 down to -10. Total open 142 down to 140. 55% are leaning Kansas, 51% shaded toward the over. And right now, West Virginia is plus 440 on the money line. Now, if you like the Mountaineers here catching double digits, just keep in mind they failed to cover in 2 out of their last 3 games as the official road team. They're just 6-6 against the spread overall for the year. They failed to cover against the likes of Youngstown State, St. John's, and Northern Colorado. Now, Kansas on the other side, they rank in the top 20 in the nation in scoring, top 3 in offensive field goal percentage. They're also ranking in the top 20 in defensive field goal percentage as well. Their opponents are shooting just 37% from the field. Now, total-wise, Kansas is 8-4 to the under in their last dozen ball games. I'm going to go ahead and lean Kansas -10 and the under 140 in that matchup. Next game, Auburn taking on Mississippi State. 4:30 Eastern tip-off in that game. The Tigers are -1 away from home, total at 138. We actually saw a 1-point fade of Auburn and movement downward on the total. The Tigers open -2 down to -1. Total open 138.5 down to 138 even. 52% are leaning Auburn, 70% shaded toward the over. And right now, Mississippi State is plus $1 on the money line. Mississippi State kind of struggling against the point spread. They failed to cover in 2 out of their last 3. They're also just 3-4 against the spread in their last 7. They have outright losses to the likes of New Mexico State and Louisiana Tech. Meanwhile, Auburn on the other side, they are undefeated on the season, a perfect 12-0 straight up on the year. They also rank in the top 15 in scoring. Now, 6 out of Auburn's last 7 games did stay under the total. So with all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and lean Auburn -1 and the under 138 in that matchup. I need a pen because I'm writing down these. See a couple of mistakes here anyway. All right, guys, let's go ahead and take a timeout real quick. I just want to quickly welcome you to the show and just let you know we got some lines and personal leans right here on YouTube for Saturday's college basketball action. But before we dive into some more of that, I just want to quickly remind you to at least consider checking out my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. We do daily premium picks on that site beginning at just $1.99 per month. We're currently 3-0 in our last 3 board member package plays. We're also 3-1 in our last 4 NFL package plays. If you want to check out my current record, you can do that for free right now as well. It is located right on the homepage, and the link for that homepage is in the description section below. Once again, that is patreon.com/BrockPage. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some more free lines and personal leans right here on YouTube. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got Oregon taking on Utah. And that is another game that is not on our big screen. But that is going to be a very, very good matchup. And that's a 5 o'clock Eastern tip-off in that game. The Oregon Ducks are minus 4.5 away from home. Total at 144 and a hook. Now, we did see a half a point fade of Oregon and movement downward on the total. The Ducks open minus 5, down to 4.5. Total open 145, down to 144 and a hook. 51% are leaning Oregon, 83% shaded toward the under. Right now, the running Utes of Utah are plus 170 on the money line. Now, Utah is 10-3 straight up on the year, a perfect 6-0 straight up at home. They've also successfully covered the point spread in 5 out of their last 6. They rank in the top 20 in offensive field goal percentage. So overall, this Utah team getting the job done at home, getting the job done against a number, and they are shooting the lights out. Now, Oregon on the other side, they failed to cover the point spread in 2 out of their last 3. They're also giving up 72 points per contest on average away from home. They suffered outright losses to the likes of Colorado and a struggling UNC team. Now, total-wise, Oregon is 11-3 to the over on the year. So with all that said and done, I'm going to lean toward the home team catching the points. Give me Utah plus 5 after buying the hook, and the over 144.5 in that game. All right, next matchup, it is going to be Georgia Tech taking on North Carolina, and that is another game not on our big screen, but that's okay. 6 o'clock Eastern tip-off in Chapel Hill. The Tar Heels are minus 7.5, total 137 and a hook. 51% leaning toward Georgia Tech, 53% shaded toward the over. And right now, the Yellow Jackets are plus 285 on the money line. Now, if you like the rambling wreck in this matchup here, just keep in mind that Georgia Tech has failed to win in 5 out of their last 7 games. That's right, just 2-5 straight up in their last 7. They actually lost to Ball State by 18 points recently. And they're averaging just 65 points per contest. Now, UNC on the other side, despite having somewhat of a down start, they're still a solid team. They're still, I know I said they're kind of struggling, and they are, but they're losing the quality teams. And they still rank in the top 3 in the nation in offensive rebounding. Meanwhile, defensively, their opponents are shooting just 39% from the field. So we still have a well-rounded UNC teams. A couple of bounces don't go their way. They pick up a slew of losses versus some top caliber teams. So although the record isn't as impressive as it normally is, this is still a very, very talented ball club. Now, total-wise, this is kind of uncanny. Both teams are exactly 10-3 to the under for the year. Both teams are 10-3 to the under for the year. So it's kind of interesting that they're over and under records mimic themselves. But with all that said and done, I'm going to lean North Carolina minus 7.5 and the under 137 and a hook in that game. All right, next matchup, it is going to be UCLA taking on Washington State, and that's going to be a 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off in that game. UCLA's minus 2, total at 137.5. 54% are leaning UCLA, 51% shaded toward the under. Right now, Washington State is plus $1.15 on the money line. Now, the Cougars have failed to cover the point spread in 3 out of their last 4. They're shooting just 39% from the field as well, so really kind of struggling for their backers as of late. Now, UCLA, on the other side, they rank in the top 25 in defensive rebounding. They're also 2-1 against the spread as the official road team. Now, 3 out of UCLA's last 4 games did stay under the total. So with all that in mind, I'm going to lean UCLA Bruins minus 2 and the under 137.5 in that game. All right, next matchup, Duke taking on Miami, and that's going to be an 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off in that game. Duke is laying double digits on the road here. They're minus 10, total at 150. Not a whole lot of movement on this total. Pretty good two-way action there. We did see a half a point fade of Duke in the early wagering. The Blue Devils open 10.5 down to minus 10. Total open and remains at 150. 66% are leaning Duke, 53% shaded toward the under. Right now, Miami's plus 460 on the money line. The Hurricanes, 4-1 against the spread in their last 5, 8-2 straight up in their last 10. They have outright wins against Clemson, Temple, UCF, and Illinois. They also rank in the top 15 in three-point percentage. Now, total-wise, Duke on the other side, 6-3 to the over in their last 9. I like the home team catching double digits. Give me Miami plus 10 in the over, 150 in that contest. Next matchup, Texas taking on Baylor, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Baylor's -9, total 129.5. 1 point fade of Baylor, movement downward on the total. The Bears open 10, down to -9, total open 130, down to 129.5. 54% are leaning Baylor, 64% shaded toward the under. Right now the Longhorns are plus 370 on the money line. The Longhorns have also strung together 8 wins out of their last 10 games. They rank in the top 35 in points allowed. Meanwhile, Baylor on the other side, just 2-3 against the spread in their last 5. And out of their 6 home games thus far in the year, they've successfully covered the point spread in just 2 of them. Now, total-wise, Baylor's 2-0 to the over in their last couple of games. Texas 5-3 to the over in their last 8. I'm going to lean Texas Longhorns plus 9 and the over 129.5 in that game. All right, next matchup. It is going to be Arizona State taking on Arizona. That game is not on our big screen in the back, but that will be a 9:30 Eastern tip-off in that game. Arizona open 10, up to -10.5. Total open 146, up to 146 and a hook. 51% are leaning Arizona. And right now, the Sun Devils of Arizona State, they are plus 500 on the money line. Now, the Sun Devils are 6-2 straight up in their last 8 games. They've put together a slew of victories here, and they have outright wins against the likes of the Georgia Bulldogs and the San Francisco Dons. So they do have quality victories. They rank in the top 25 in shooting the 3 ball on the road as well. Meanwhile, Arizona's dropped 3 out of their last 4 games, and they're just 1-6 against the spread in their last 7. Now, total-wise, we're looking at an Arizona team who's 60% to the under in their last 5. Meanwhile, Arizona State is 9-4 to the under overall for the year. So I'm going to go ahead and lean toward another underdog. Give me Arizona State plus 10.5 and the under 146.5 in that matchup. All right, next and final game for the show. It is going to be San Diego State taking on Utah State, and that'll be a 10 o'clock Eastern tip-off in that matchup there. Utah State's -3, total 129.5. We saw a 1-point move toward Utah State and movement downward on the total. The Aggies, I started laughing. First of all, my wife is naked more during this show than anyone would ever imagine. Like, literally, every time I record, you're walking around, which is bad on me because, like, dude, stop recording YouTube videos and, pay attention to your naked wife. But not only is she nude, getting out of the shower, but she just let out a very loud, bulbous burp.
It was good. It was a good one.
It was wet and moist. Anyway, Sid, I'm on my last, on the last game for the show anyway. So, ADD, I like squirrel, I just can't, But anyway, San Diego State, Utah State. Utah State's -3, total's 129.5. We saw a movement toward Utah State, movement downward on the total. The Aggies open 2, up to -3, total open 131, down to 129.5. 51% are leaning Utah State, 55% shaded toward the under, and right now the Aztecs are plus 130 on the money line. Now, Utah State really, really struggling against the point spread this year. Pretty solid team, but just cannot get the job done for their backers. They failed to cover the point spread in 7 out of their last 8. And they have outright losses to the likes of UNLV, BYU, and St. Mary's. Now, San Diego State on the other side, well, they're shooting 38% from downtown. Really a long-distance threat there. They also rank in the top 10 in points allowed. So, might not see a whole lot of points in this one, especially considering San Diego State 5-3 to the under in their last 8. I think they should keep it close. Probably end up winning it outright. I'm going to lean San Diego State plus 3 and the under 129.5 in that game. All right, let's go ahead and dive into our quick pick recap. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage, where we are 3-0 in our last 3 board member package plays on that website. I like San Diego State +3 under 129.5, Arizona State +10.5 under 146 and a hook, Texas +9 over 129.5, Miami, Florida +10 over 150, UCLA -2 under 137.5, UNC -7.5 under 137 and a hook, Utah +5 over 144.5, Auburn -1 under 138, Kansas -10 under 140, and last but certainly not least, I like Syracuse -3 and the under 137.5 in that game. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Happy Saturday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later today on patreon.com/BrockPage.